On the first morning of December 1948, a couple walking along Somerton Beach in Adelaide noticed a man lying against the seawall. He was well dressed. His feet were neatly crossed. He looked, they thought, like he had simply fallen asleep in the sand. He was dead. He had no wallet, no papers, no name. Every maker's label had been cut out of his clothing. And months later, in a tiny pocket sewn into his trousers, police would find a scrap of paper with 2 printed words on it. Tamám Shud. Persian for "it is finished." For more than 70 years, no one knew who he was, how he died, or what he was trying to say. Today, we finally have a name. The rest is still out there. To understand how one dead man became one of the strangest cases in Australian history, you have to remember when this happened. It was 1948. One war had ended and a colder one had begun. Spies were not a fantasy. They were in the newspapers. And South Australia, as it happened, sat close to a secret weapons range the British were building out in the desert. This was a place and time where a nameless body could mean something. The man on the beach had almost nothing on him. Cigarettes, a comb, chewing gum, an unused train ticket and a used bus ticket, and clothing with every label carefully cut away. He had not been robbed. Someone, perhaps the man himself, had gone to deliberate trouble to make sure that if he was ever found, he could not be named. The autopsy only deepened the mystery. The man was in his 40s and looked fit. He had unusually high, firm calf muscles, the kind you see on a dancer. But inside, something was wrong. His spleen was 3 times the size it should have been. His stomach was congested with blood. Everything pointed to a fast-acting poison. And yet every test came back clean. Whatever killed him left no trace that 1948 could find. And then there was the paper. Months after his death, a closer search found a hidden fob pocket sewn into the waistband of his trousers. Inside was a scrap, rolled tight, torn from the last page of a book. 2 printed words: Tamám Shud. The final line of an old Persian poem, the Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam, a poem about living fully and meeting the end without regret. Police asked the public for the book those words had been torn from, and a man brought one in. He had found it, he said, tossed into the back of his unlocked car, parked near the beach, around the time the man died. It was the right book. The final words were missing, and pressed faintly into the inside cover were the indentations of handwriting from a page now gone. A local phone number, and beneath it, 5 lines of jumbled capital letters. A code. No one has ever cracked it. The phone number led to a young nurse who lived a short walk from the beach. When detectives showed her a plaster cast of the dead man's face, those present said she looked as though she might faint. But she told them she did not know him. And whatever she knew, she took to her grave. So who was he? For decades, the theories ran wild. Theory 1, the spy. It fit too well. The Cold War, the secret weapons range down the coast, the removed labels, the uncrackable code, the nameless body poisoned by something that left no trace. For 70 years, the most popular answer was that this was a foreign agent, silenced to keep a secret. It is a brilliant story. It is also built almost entirely on atmosphere. Theory 2, the lover. The nurse never left the case. Some who studied it became convinced the dead man had come to Adelaide for her. That her shock at his face was not horror, but recognition. That somewhere in her silence was the whole answer. Whatever she was protecting, him, herself, someone else, she protected it completely. She was interviewed, She was watched, she was suspected, she outlasted all of it and said nothing. Theory 3. The code. Everything kept circling back to those 5 lines of letters. Codebreakers, amateurs, even naval intelligence have tried them. Nothing holds. To this day, no one can say whether it is a cipher, a string of initials, the first letters of lines of verse, or the restless scrawl of a troubled mind. For 70 years, the case sat exactly there. A nameless man, a dead language in his pocket, and a code no one could read. And then, science caught up. The body was exhumed in 2021, but the breakthrough came from somewhere stranger. Caught in that old plaster cast of the man's face were around 50 of his hairs. From them, a professor named Derek Abbott and a genealogist named Colleen Fitzpatrick pulled enough DNA to begin building a family tree. 4,000 people, narrowed name by name until it pointed to one. The dead man with no name was Carl Webb. He was an electrical engineer, born in Melbourne in 1905. He made instruments, he played cards, he bet on horses, and he wrote poetry. A great deal of it on one subject above all: death. His marriage had collapsed. His wife had left him and moved, it seems, to South Australia. He vanished from his family's view in 1947. And the last words found on his body, torn from a poem about the end of all things, read simply, "It is finished." The spy melts away. What is left is quieter and far more human. A heartbroken man who wrote about death, traveling to the city his wife had gone to, and dying alone on a beach with a line of poetry pressed against his skin. So, case closed? Not quite, because here is the honest part. South Australia's authorities have still not officially confirmed it. By any reasonable measure, the identification is almost certainly right. The DNA triangulates on both sides of Webb's family. But the police ran their own tests, and the file is not closed. Officially, on paper, the man on the beach is still no one. And even if we take the name as settled, 2 questions remain exactly as open as they were in 1948. We still do not know how Carl Webb died, and we still cannot read the last thing he wrote. This is the strange shape the case has taken. For 70 years, we had a code, a poem, a body, and no name. Now we have the name, and somehow the mystery did not close. It only moved. The man is Carl Webb, but the poison that may have killed him has never been found. And those 5 lines of letters are still sitting there in a dead man's book, written in his own hand, saying something to someone that no one alive can understand. And the questions beneath those, the ones that feel the most human, have not moved at all. Why that beach? Why every label cut from every piece of clothing, carefully, deliberately, by someone who wanted him to stay nameless? Whether that was Carl Webb himself, preparing for the end on his own terms, or something else, we cannot say. And the nurse. She saw his face in plaster and came close to fainting. Whatever she knew, she kept until she died. It went with her. So we have a name now, and we are still standing in the same place. A man on a beach, labels cut out, poison undetected, a code unbroken, a nurse who said nothing. The name didn't answer any of that. It just gave the silence a face. He tore 2 words from a book and hid them against his body. It is finished. He was wrong, or at least, not yet. If this case pulled you in, there are more waiting. Pick one. See where it leads.